Hello everyone. Oh, as always, let me do my first video check because I hate it when I mess up. Alright, there we go. Game 1 in a series between Juan and Yumiko. Game 1 taking place here on, I believe this is Secret Valley. Yumiko spawning as the pink human player on the bottom left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, this end zone, this field goal, this neck of the woods, Juan spawning as the gray undead. Undead versus human. This was taken from the Zotac Cup over the weekend. My apologies if you've already seen this. Now you guys get to see it one more time with my casting style and all of my flair. Now, for those of you guys who are looking for more insightful commentary, want to know what they're doing and why, I don't believe I'm actually the best at that. There's a lot of other players out there who are able to follow the professional scene much more. Me, I am that play-by-play commentary guy that tells you what's happening, that you can already see with your eyes, but hopefully gets you more excited as the game does roll on. Yumiko looks like he will be going into most likely an Archmage. Archmage versus a Death Knight, as the Death Knight already being trained. In this human versus undead matchup, undead players really don't like to take expansions. Undead players generally find themselves in this situation because of the acolytes. Now, every player who watches WarCraft 3 pretty much knows you only need 5 acolytes in the game, as opposed to, say, peasants. Peasants where you need 12 to 15 peasants in order to harvest enough lumber and also harvest enough gold, or gather enough gold. The problem is if you take that expansion and then once you have that expansion, you try to train up those additional acolytes, you don't have the gold mine, then all those acolytes are pretty much useless, as you cannot call to arms them like human players can do. You cannot even gather lumber like night elf or orc players can do. As we can see, this one acolyte taking a little bit of damage might get taken out here, and the acolyte does get taken down at the hands of a creep. Meanwhile, Archmage is already coming over, and it looks like it did a good job here, utilizing the fact that that acolyte was over in this neck of the woods and actually separated the creeps, peeled them away a little bit, allowing Yumiko to get off a very easy surround. You're going to see the Null Overseer getting taken down. Level 1 now on that Archmage. The Militia make sure to finish off the creep, or that water elemental, to deny some experience. Death Knight now coming into play, as there are 3 footmen, 1 Death Knight, and a quick Death Coil coming in from that Death Knight, trying to deal a little bit more damage. You're going to see more and more damage being dealt between the two. There's another Death Coil, and Yumiko now gets up to level 2, and this is where the strategy or the pressure is on. If Yumiko loses a level 2 Archmage, that is going to severely put him behind. Meanwhile, Juan does have a Death Coil ready to go. If Juan is actually able to get off a hit with that Death Knight and get perhaps 1 or 2 Death Coils off, 2 Death Coils would most likely kill it before any more natural regeneration does come in. Death Knight now still coming in to harass, trying to steal some experience. You can see that the Null is currently taking all of that damage. More skeletal minions coming in, as the Archmage going to park itself up on the top left-hand side of the map of Secret Valley, healing up, and then perhaps regathering and regrouping a little while later. Alright, Death Knight, is he going to get the experience? No, he does not. So far has only, I believe, gotten 1 footman, if that, as this skeletal minion is now looking to get away. The skeletal minion is going to be able to escape, as we see the Archmage pretty much already back up to 300, almost 400 hit points, and the Death Knight now going to arrive to the party. There's a bit of that fight, the Archmage really benefiting from the fact that there is fountains of health on this map, actually 2 fountains of health, as we are now seeing Yumiko transition into the fast expansion play. Human players normally like to take this additional base. The benefit of extra Militia, even at this point, if Militia falls, it's not going to be much of a problem for Yumiko. The Militia, if they fall, there's still going to be plenty of Militia left. We see a Death Coil that was completely off target. Death Coil helping him, and that was an epic fail by Juan there. Juan just helping his opponent clear out that creep a little bit faster, as apparently nerves getting to him a little bit, as the Death Knight now backing off. Juan down to pretty much no mana on this Death Knight, and now going to be doing a bit of an engagement, as there are now Crypt Fiends in this group. Yumiko attempting to run away. down to 71 hit points on one of his footmen. Meanwhile, we can see the triple scout towers and the 1 town hall already being established. All of this with 8 peasants right now, as we're going to see a bit of an engagement. No, we're not. Actually, the Death Knight deciding to back away or just act as a giant sponge on damage, as it looks as though, will the skeletal minion get taken down? It looks like that water elemental was actually attacking his own unit there, and Yumiko is going to set up this expansion with little to no problem. We do see some Crypt Fiends. Are we getting web? That is the question. We are at Halls of the Dead, and we are now going into that Lich. Now, as of late, Undead players have not been doing a quick tech to tier 3. I don't know if this was brought around by Ted, but a lot of Undead players are not doing that quick tech to tier 3, instead staying at tier 2 and trying to push out this expansion. The expansion of Yumiko is pretty much going to stay up and operational. Yumiko does have enough towers there, enough peasants there to really protect this location, and with no meat wagons, there's nothing that Juan can really do in order to knock down that front door. Crypt Fiends, Death Knight now making a move down. No brutes are backing off. There are some red drakes. Death Knight still sitting at level 1. No, about halfway to level 2. Should be able to get there pretty quickly, as there are finally Crypt Fiends, meaning that he can creep out higher level creep camps. The problem for Juan, though, is that Juan needs to make some sort of move. He cannot be passive. He does have a Lich, he does have this Death Knight, but he is also behind in terms of experience. Taking a look at the hero advantage, it is level 2, almost level 3, only 9 experience away. That will mean level 2 water elementals, and level 2 water elementals on an archmage that pretty much has full hit points is rather deadly. Yumiko could easily get back up to full hit points. 1 clarity potion plus the passive bonus of that brilliance aura will help him out tremendously, as we see an ogre magi now taken down. Great potion of greater mana given to that Death Knight. Death Knight may decide to give that potion of greater mana back to the Lich instead, as the Lich is the one that has more mana and also needs more mana to stay functional. Crypt Fiends now making their way over. Are they going to perhaps come in for a creep jack, as the footman now getting focused down rather quickly? Down goes 1 footman. There's a Frost Nova, and 1 footman goes down. 2 footmen go down. Nicely done, as we see a Death Coil come in from Juan. Juan really showing his stuff here in his game against Yumiko, as he now has 2-2 on his heroes compared to 1 single level 3. Town Hall and upgrading to a keep off over here. Yumiko will be able to call to arms at both of these locations, as the Death Knight, Crypt Fiend, Lich now once more on the move. What will be happening next? 1 obsidian statue taking a little bit of damage. Death Knight, Crypt Fiends now looking to push in. It looks as though this blacksmith may get taken down before it is even operational, and that does appear to be the case. Crypt Fiend taking a little bit of damage, and you can see that arcane tower with such far range causing so many problems. Lich now sitting on near maximum mana once more. Does catch a couple of the peasants as they're in transit. There's another Frost Nova there, and Yumiko actually giving chase when he has no reason to do so, especially with slow from that Frost Nova. Alright, Crypt Fiend rather low on hit points. Is the Death Knight going to be able to get off the Death Coil? Obsidian statue dancing in between the two, as the footmen are now backing away. Militia, realizing that they are on borrowed time, cannot stick around for far too long, otherwise they will become peasants. Alright, Crypt Fiends now pushing in against this arcane vault. What is happening over here? Archmage alongside a whole bunch of footmen now going to be strolling and prancing their way inside the base. We can see more obsidian statues being trained, but is it going to be enough? 1 obsidian statue, 1 meat wagon, and we also saw a little bit of a death pack to get a Lich some more mana. Here is that engagement now. It looks as though the footmen are taking a bit of damage. Acolytes now trying to just back away and avoid some of that damage. Running to the very far back at far neck of the woods. It looks as though that 1 acolyte will get taken down. Meanwhile, back off over here, the arcane vault has been taken down. Both sides just doing a really strong engage here, as the Death Knight now trying to keep this 1 Lich alive. Lich now down to 25 mana after all of that arcane feedback, and that is no good. Acolytes getting cleaned up here, and that is the problem. Apparently, people are wondering why he is going for tier 3 tech. That is my question as of now. You can see the water elemental coming off over here. We are going to see a transition into fast destroyers, but it doesn't matter. Nothing is being mined from this base right now as we have the Staff of Teleportation kick online. Water elementals backing off. You can see Acolyte getting killed down here. Lich still sitting at level 2. Acolytes being retrained back up. We are about 80% completed on the Black Citadel. And the destroyers can absolutely eat apart all of the footmen and all of those archmages as they are able to devour the magic, heal themselves while pretty much shutting down these water elementals. That will be a very, very key point. And here we go, some more. Apparently people are wondering why the Undead player is even bothering to go for tier 3 when he is trying to go for a Crypt Fiend Undead Meat Wagon push. You now have the Water Elemental trying to fight back here. Water Elemental will get taken down with absolutely no problems. Lich may get to level... No, it will not get to level 3. We'll get a little bit closer, but not by much. Still needs about 65 more mana to do so as the Arcane Vault once again falls off over here. Footmen, Water Elementals now giving chase again, and what is going to be happening here? Obsidian statues now need to try to re-engage. Mountain King now trying to get straight up inside the front of the army as we now see a Frost Nova on that Mountain King. Mountain King now trying to get away. Is it going to be enough as the Mountain King tries to turn around? He does turn around, but decides to turn around once more. Both sides still fighting. Peasants getting taken down. Meat Wagons now looking deciding to back off. The Meat Wagons could make it all the way back home. Only time will tell as... Oh, apparently there was a bit of a pause. Okay, coming back in. Mountain King gets taken down. Yumiko losing his Mountain King at level 1. A Scroll of Healing, I believe, was utilized. There's Dust of Appearance. Another burrowed Crypt Fiend is taken down. But the Crypt Fiends are doing such a great job. The Crypt Fiends are staying alive. There is a whole bunch of footmen and militia. If the Frost Nova comes in from Lich once more, that could tip the things in favor of Juan, as Juan needs to figure out every advantage he can get. There's another Death Coil saving a Crypt Fiend, pretty much getting it back up to full hit points as it is now going to be following up off over here. Death Knight, Crypt Fiend, Lich, Obsidian Statues, Meat Wagon now enjoying this push. You can see the Obsidian Statues just off in the back, healing, providing mana, as the Lich now taking a lot of damage here. Water Elementals now pushing their way in. Is this one Obsidian Statue going to be able to get back? Yes, it will. And now we see, once again, more fighting happening. Juan may end up losing this Meat Wagon as you see more militia being brought over to try and clean up. Double Obsidian Statues are here, perhaps the amount of mana, and Juan actually doing a fairly good job retreating with these units while getting the necessary kills. He keeps on killing, and then he's able to move again and kill once more as the Crypt Fiend does go down. Alright, Obsidian Statues are out. Oh, Death Coil saves one of them. And are we going to see perhaps Devour Magic to come in and finish off the Archmage? Down goes the Death Knight though. Death Knight falls at level 4 and that may end up, level 3, that may end up being GG. Where is that Lich? There's the GG, well played. Yumiko takes game 1 in the series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.